Hey everybody, Justin White here, and you're about to listen to episode 3 of Power Forward. Our guest is Chief People Officer Laura Lawson. Laura has been with the company since 2011, and you'll find out how she left a career in the TV business to work for a mortgage company. Laura was one of the architects of our amazing company culture, and she'll tell you what goes into creating a happy workplace. Plus, there's a story in there about Laura, a Hollywood celebrity, and an elephant. You'll find out how that experience still helps Laura today. All that and more coming up on Power Forward. The primary purpose of this podcast series is to inform, entertain, and educate. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast series do not constitute legal or other professional advice, opinions, or endorsements of any kind.
This is Power Forward.
Welcome back to Power Forward, a podcast from UWM. I'm Justin White, alongside Mateen Cleaves. Mateen, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, Justin, it's always a good day. How are you?
I'm doing great because I'm next to you, and also because of our guest today. She is our Chief People Officer, Laura Lawson. Laura, welcome to Power Forward.
Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you here. That title, by the way, has to be the coolest title in the company, right? Chief People Officer?
Thank you. Yeah, I am honored to have the title, especially at a company where we put people first. So it's just really threaded in everything that we do. Our people are our differentiator. And I think outside of these walls, it sounds like it's a true HR kind of job. That is 1/6 of what I do, but how I define the role is how we take care of our people and our clients. So that's not just the HR type teams that we call team member services because we serve our people, but it's the range from training, how we train our people, leadership development, client service, marketing, right, our voice to our clients and our community, and then our building teams, so our facilities, which are very dynamic when you have 3,600 people that report under this one roof every single day.
We're going to get into some of those things you mentioned, but first I want to ask you how you ended up here because you, like many people here, did not start out in the mortgage industry. So let me ask you this. Did you ever think you'd end up working for a mortgage lender?
I did not, because growing up in Detroit, success here was always defined that you had to land in the automotive industry, which I did. I worked at Chrysler doing advertising. I'm an advertising major, but I'm just a big dreamer and a creative, and so I left that to live the dream of moving out to Los Angeles, and I was there for 8 years developing television shows. I did 3 years at Fox for reality shows. I was there for the era of when American Idol launched, which was awesome to be a part of. Wow. And then went from there to work for Warner Brothers, where I was assigned to the Ellen DeGeneres show. So I was there from the first season, staffing the show up to being there for 5 years. But it was really all about ideas. I had to move back to Michigan, this is my home, after the loss of my mother. And I got introduced to Matt Ishbia, our CEO. And that being 8 years ago now, this guy with his crazy vision, I mean, it almost didn't matter what industry,
right?
Because he is just fierce in setting that kind of a vision. And he was looking for somebody of outside industry perspective, which I was. In LA, I would have never owned a house, right? I knew nothing about mortgages. I'd never had a mortgage. So he forced me to be super intrigued of like, what is this and what is this company? And not just mortgages, but like the B2B side when it comes to wholesale mortgages. What is this, you know? So very fun to challenge myself and to pivot into new things, which a lot of us at the company today have done. I mean, 8 years ago, that was 500 people. Now it's 3,600. So it's cool of introducing people to this industry and what it does for homeownership.
Well, you mentioned pivot, so let me pivot back to the Ellen show.
Yes.
I have to ask this question because I remember being in the NBA, and I had that one star moment where it was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's this guy. And it was, for me, it was Michael Jordan. I couldn't believe that I was on the same court as Michael Jordan. And I know you've had a lot of experience, with the Ellen show and being around a lot of successful people. Who was that for you, that one star moment? Is like, oh my God, I can't believe this is such and such.
It's tough because there's so many. And I always say I should write all this down for my boys. But I worked with all of the musical guests for 3 seasons, and Ellen's a huge musical fan. So the greats from Elton John, we had Prince, we had David Bowie, we had Paul McCartney.
Wow.
And being able to do a sound check where it's like you and 2 other people and them, and then spending the whole day with them until they performed on the show. At musical guests, it's a longer duration when they come to a talk show. And just to be able to just see them in their environment and the true talent and to be able to shake their hands and like, I'll never forget those moments. Like that was huge for me. being a music fan.
Those are some heavy hitters you just mentioned. I mean,
yes.
Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Is there one that stands out that you actually got to meet?
Paul McCartney, I just recognized of the millions of people who would want to be in my shoes that day. And a lot of and a lot of guests that would come on the show would bring such an entourage. He came with his long-term manager, just him and another Englishman, and they even asked if I would do tea with them and sit down. I mean, those kind of moments of like it's that you can achieve that level of fame and be so grounded and so amazing and give so much to people. That was very special. So,
what did you learn from that experience working on the Ellen Show, being around somebody like that who's such a visionary? In her own right, what was the biggest thing, I guess, that you took away from that experience as a whole?
I think a lot is yes mentality. On a day-to-day basis, I'd be asked to do truly impossible things, and then proving those things, if you're resourceful, there's a will, there's a way, they are possible. And a lot of times with no notice, right? I mean, a guest could drop out the night before, and you'd have to produce a segment the next day, or she'd do a monologue, and there was a day we needed to bring in an elephant, and I was given a couple hours notice to get an elephant. Like, I mean, but those are the stories of here, transferring from that, I'm glad I had that boot camp, because here in the things that we do and the things that we might be asked to raise a little higher, that we can achieve it every single time. As I tell my teams here, when we're asked to do something, if we have a new hire group, we have 250 people starting at this company this month on one day. And that, imagine, like, years impossible, and now it's kind of fun, and I want my teams to feel that way, that's our time to shine. When we're asked to do things that we would never have dreamt before, like, that's your time that we're in the game, and they're leaning on us to do those things. And so I kind of look back at the talk show background of these things that we do here today, that, like, you truly can conquer anything if you all have that mentality.
And you talked about some of the challenges that came with that. Spur of the moment things had to get done. And I watched you. I watched you from afar here, and we have challenges here as well. But to me, like, you seem like you're never rattled. I mean, like, where does that come from? Is it experience? Is it something that you always had?
Yeah, I think it's experience. So the youngest of three girls, I was kind of the forgotten child, right? There's three girls and they wanted me to be a boy. So sorry, Dad. But I think that from always kind of just being an observer. And I, particularly working in TV, I mean, there's those meltdown moments that you learn from. But I think here is we just set the stage for each other, regardless of title, that like we're in this together. And I don't lose my mind. Being leaders, I'll never be a leader, and I've never, at this point in my career, ever yelled at somebody. There's never a reason for that. So I just like to keep my cool and keep level, just because there's just no other way for me. But I think that if we're steady and strong, others follow.
I wish you could talk to Coach Izzo when I was in school.
About not yelling?
Passion's good. That's just not my outlet.
He's never yelled, right?
Yeah.
Never.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about something that you mentioned. Did you get the elephant?
I did get the elephant. Yeah.
How?
And it kind of has turned into, I told Maddish for this story before, it's the elephant in the parking lot story. And then sometimes when people ask the impossible, I'm like, the elephant in the parking lot, right? So in being asked to provide an elephant with a couple of hours notice of like 10 a.m., Ellen, I need you to get me an elephant, getting that delivery from her. And again, my choice is always yes, until I can prove that I can't do it, right? But I was determined, and at least in LA, you've got some outlets of the ridiculous with movies, studios, and all that stuff. So we were able to get it, and she's an animal lover. So being able to do that and fulfill it in a moment's notice, I think for me always served as that elephant in the parking lot moment that I really can do anything.
Well, we mentioned that, Laura, you're the chief people officer here, and that encompasses lots of things, but you didn't start off that way.
No.
Kind of take us through your path through the company from the time you joined UWM up until now in your current role.
Yeah, so joining 8 years ago, we were looking for more of a marketing presence. So at that point, account executives, they were in charge of delivering the value of UWM to our clients really on their own, truly. I mean, it would be solid messaging, but then they had to interpret that, and they had to be able to do that via email and over phone calls. So it was an exciting challenge to come on, and what I love the beauty of that back then, not even with the title, it's like you're just in charge of marketing as a team of one. And then I had to earn along the way of like a graphic designer, and then I had to prove the difference that marketing would make of having a true team. And by the time it got to about 10, 12 people is when I grew into my current role of Chief People Officer. But I think a lot of the beauty of this company is the opportunity. So while I have an advertising background, a creative background, as we grew, I would just recognize not even just voids of our opportunity to do more. So that could have been our account executives when they travel, nobody was booking it. I can take that on. I can save us a lot of money. as we were growing, we had maybe 2 people in HR back then, and no, not a true focus on sourcing and recruiting and showing people what is this cool industry that I've discovered that I didn't know. Let me help with recruiting. So anytime I found a void and opportunity, I jumped in, or even it was just caring for people. If we had people that were sick or I lost a loved one, let me take care of them. And so this chief people officer position I'm in today, it didn't exist, and I've been in. It's about nearly 5 years now that I've been in the role. It didn't exist, and I think that's the beauty of this place, is you do have the opportunity to do more, to reach farther. You can fill these voids and do great things, and then coolness becomes, right? Like, who would have thought, you know?
And this is a cool place. I mean, we have a full-length indoor basketball court. We have a state-of-the-art gym. I mean, we have a Starbucks. I mean, there's a laundry list of cool things we have here. And Laura, you played a major role in making all those things happen.
So in the land of opportunity here, I love our perspective that a resume might get you in the door, get you noticed, but then it really is the work ethic and the attitude and just the drive and the hunger to do more. So as we grew, our last headquarters, when I started, we had a couple different buildings. As we grew, we just needed to acquire more buildings to fit the people. And then we had our first headquarters. And I raised my hand saying, why not me? Can I design that? Because we were a financial institution, right? You'd expect conservative. We had the mismatch of, we had cubicles and mahogany desks. And but it was all about the people are special. So took that opportunity of, let me prove that I can do this and let the building, the facility match the people. And I think that was part of the force of developing the culture that we have today. And also just with me being all in the company, them believing in me when I said, let me try this, that was a big gamble on me. I'm not an architect. I'm not an interior designer. I have no credentials to do the things that they've allowed me to do here. But now, in nearly a year now that we've been located headquartered, all 3,600 of us in Pontiac, Michigan, again, can I do this? We have 600,000 square feet, and I compare it to how many football fields is that, how many groceries. I mean, just the square footage of this place, I couldn't even describe to friends and people outside these walls of the magnitude of this headquarters with all these amazing people and that challenge of, can I do them right by designing this place? So even when it comes to basketball court, no business designing a basketball court, but I did. And the greats like you, Mateen, and Matt, of having this basketball background and other athletes we have here, of how amazing that you can tackle these things that you never dreamt that you could do, and how proud to be able to walk through here and see that these things are all serving our people, and every single ounce of it is intentional. A basketball court, that's team building, that's co-ed leagues where people have never met each other before, that's events that we can do on that court, it's fitness and the free gym that we extend to our people, that save them hundreds of dollars a month and how much a year in saving on a gym membership. So it's just a big snowballing wow factor.
Yeah, and another thing is the ping pong table.
Oh yeah, that too.
I walk by that and I see it gets pretty serious on the ping pong table and the competition. But like you said, Laura, it's fantastic to walk around and see people that love to be at work. It's such a great place to work, and I'm so happy I'm on board, man. I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to be at any other place.
Yeah, and it's a hard science because I think a lot of people think workplace culture is things like ping pong tables. For us, how that symbolizes that we're fiercely competitive. But we also have this way that if we put down a ping pong table, it doesn't work, nobody plays, we take it away. So we have no fear in trying things and doing weird, cool things because it all is to serve them. And we're never going to be the place that has the slushy machine that is nobody ever uses just because we think that's workplace culture or cool, or a slide in the lobby that nobody slides down. That's not us. Everything for us is the heavy intent to serve the people, make them stronger.
Yeah, and you mentioned opportunities, Laura, and being able to raise your hand and say, "Oh, I'd like to try that," and then somebody basically says, "Okay, go for it." Mm-hmm. It almost serves as a warning of sorts, because if you have an idea, you're probably going to get a chance to try that idea. So you better be prepared if you raise your hand, right?
And that's where I think our best people thrive, where it's about ownership. Because I'm not going to raise my hand and then not kill it. So, and I think how much growth becomes of that, because we have programs for ideas here, and it's on any level of company. Anybody can submit an idea, but on their end, they have to prove it's not just, hey, give me a transformational idea or a new technology idea. You have to have a piece of it, and you have to have ownership of it, and that's cultivating future leaders, and amazing ownership. So, I love that about this place.
Well, we mentioned that you played a huge role in renovating this building. It's 600,000 plus square feet, tons of great amenities. Beyond the amenities, though, Laura, what do you think is the most important thing in creating a workplace, creating a culture where people truly enjoy going to work every single day?
We have 6 pillars of the company, the first being our people are our greatest asset. I think from the workplace design and the way that we're set up, when you don't have barriers and you don't have walls and you have a culture of support, and when it's all about the people, I think that a magical thing about here, say you're in sales, you might have your own individual accounts, but it's shared success. When you have no cubicles, you're literally next to these other people that could be your mentors that you could learn from. So I think from everything that we do, we're constantly just trying to like tighten that fact that like great people create a great business, create great partnerships, and then what we can do for our brokers because of that.
And you talked about people. So when is, and I'm someone that benefited from this. You guys hire people with no mortgage background.
Yeah,
like that, where does that come from?
Look at all 3 of us.
I know, right? We are all examples of that.
We've got the broadcaster, the athlete, and then the creative weirdo.
That's right.
So the 3 of us, yeah.
Who would've
We could
thunk
have
it?
our own talk show. It is so cool when you can be a company that can truly just focus on finding outstanding people. And when you think we've hired I think it's over 900 people this year alone.
Wow.
So cool when you can find great people that are hungry for more, but that challenges us on how you recruit those people because people are presenting their best self on a resume, and when you can dig into, that's great, but tell me what motivates you, what drives you. When's the last time you did a good deed? Like,
Right.
I want to get to the core that you're a great person. Do you make eye contact? And at the rate that we're growing, we have to become more and more critical of those things. Can you serve service assessments? So you find those great people that have the fundamental things and non-negotiables that we need for our future. Then we're getting cool and crazy because we have a training team, I believe over 80 at this point, that we can bring people in that have those characteristics. We can teach you the mortgage industry, every single piece of it, and you can be dynamic and amazing. And then even after you go through that initial training, you never stop.
Right.
We're never stop getting better. So it's like, that's what athletes thrive here. So the 2 of you of both loving sports, it's like you get it. So finding those people that truly get it and click with what we're trying to do and the continuous improvement factor are going to soar here.
But how do you find those people that are dynamic, that are great, not just workers, but also great people as well? Because there's lots of companies out there who probably want that, but they don't know exactly how to get it.
Yeah, I think the 2 pieces. One that is phenomenal for us is when you have happy people, they do the work for you. So 60% of all of our new team members are referred by current team members. So in that, how cool is that when you think about, I am going to bring my brother, my sister, my best friend, or I'm going to meet somebody in a restaurant or whatever that is, that you could be dynamic at UWM. That is insane because those people come in and then they have an ambassador and an advocate, somebody looking out for them. You're not going to let them down. They're not going to let you down. And then it just webs out from there. Those people are going to tell more people. So I think when you do right by your people, and the second part is those people out in the community, or when people see UWM out in the community, that stands for quality and that stands for dreams and opportunity. So a lot of it, sure, you can put a ton of advertising dollars and marketing dollars into finding great people, but your people can also do the work. Those are the foot soldiers of just speaking the gospel that is UWM, and that you can truly transform here, and that you don't have to be intimidated by, I've never had a mortgage. I know nothing. Well, we didn't either. And look at that. Look at this and look at us.
The ability to meet with your leader on a monthly basis. I don't know how many other companies do that. Maybe none, but we do it here. How did that start? What was the genesis of that idea and the why behind it?
We challenged a lot of different groups to give us new perspective and new ideas, and that came from one of those challenge sessions, almost like think tank sessions of, what's hard when you don't have that frequent touch point, or maybe you're just talking about production, or you can't really guide the topics with your leader. To be able to have a true one-on-one that we do have scheduled once a month, but what is unique, and out of that think tank session, the team member, the employee, they be able to set the agenda. They set the agenda. They give the 3 solid topics or more with that time with their leader to be able to talk about what you want to talk about. And that can be anything. And a lot of times it's personal stuff. And then teams are getting tighter and things are getting better and cultivating better relationships because people can have that one-on-one and then get to know us from the human level. What drives us? What motivates us? What does Mateen work for? What does Justin work for? we've got daughters, we've got son. I mean, all these great things that if you didn't have those touch points, maybe we'd just always be skipping over that. And when you put people first, then the production of all the other great things come second. So I think that it's a very unique setup for us monthly.
And let me tell you, Justin, I mean, Laura's great in your ties. You know, I report to Laura.
Yeah, you would know.
I went in there and I'm head is spinning 100 different directions, and you know, she put me at ease, and she relaxed me so much. And not only that, she taught me so much in a short amount of time. You know, she's a well of knowledge. She knows a lot, not only in this industry, but just outside the world. So not in my kiss-up voice, but
you're good.
Just being honest, she does a great job. Now, let me ask you this question, because this is something that I was intrigued about and excited about in the same time. The Huddles. Like, this is a mortgage company. Like, we have Huddles before every day start. What is it about the Huddles?
I love our sports philosophies. I played soccer my whole life, so I think those kind of have a foundation of that. Get it maybe a little deeper, the intent. But just like in sports, like you align what's the game plan? You got to align your team. And I think the huddle allows us, so every team here at the company, 100% of every team starts their day with a morning huddle. And they talk about yesterday's victories, today's objectives, shouting out successes. Some have rituals. I mean, there's one team that you'll start hearing hip hop playing, and they get up, hop up, and walk over. But it really just aligns the team, and it really sparks us for a successful day. And it just shows that like we're one united front trying to kill it, whatever today's objective is. And then it's great because then the leader of the team sits in the middle. When you look at, we have this bench desking, and they sit in the middle of the team all day as a virtual huddle surrounded by the team members all day. And then when those leaders, we call them captains. So back huddle, sports, captains. Captains are on the field winning with their teams. So when your captain is leading a huddle and they're calling the plays for today and they're shouting people out and empowering our team members, who's going to own this today, how awesome that is. And then to collect the next day, then do we kill it yesterday?
Right.
It's very special.
And you can see it too because of that open work environment that you mentioned earlier. You know, everyone can kind of see everything that's going on. Open work environments are pretty popular these days, but one thing that I guess our company kind of bucks the trend with is the you have to be here aspect of work. You know, a lot of companies you can work remotely, but for our company, we want you here. We want you to be a part of the team that's here every day. Can you kind of talk about that and why that's a big deal and how that plays into the culture that we've built and continue to grow here?
Yeah. I think we made a commitment several years ago that it was particularly our last quarters, we're never going to not be in one building. And so when you're all going to the same place, you're all rowing in the same direction, when you have those huddle touch points, when you can see your leaders, when you can look over and be like, Justin, how can I help you today because I'm caught up? You can't do that when you're disjointed, we feel. And it is something that people, may ask for now and then. Why don't we do workplace flexibility? When we're recruiting, people will say, well, I really need that Friday at home. That's not our style today. That's not our model. But just like sports, you can't win on the field if your people aren't showing up. So I think it gives us a different type of alignment, a different kind of support. And then it also, increases on the personal level, which is our magic too. When you care on a personal level about people, you do more. And if you don't have those personal touch points, and even in this campus community that we created, you're going to meet people when you go to our Starbucks. You're going to meet people in the cafeteria. You're going to meet people at the gym. Though I think we developed a place we want people to want to go to. Yes, you have to. We all show up here every single day. But I think it's tilted more that you want to come here every day. These are where your friends are and where you thrive.
And let me talk about this real quick. These lunches, with the VPs Laura encouraged me when I first got here to send out lunch invites, to go meet with different people. And I'm like, no way. They're not going to meet with me. Like, it seemed like everybody that I reached out to made themselves available. And it's not only me. It's like every team member here have access to the leaders in the company to go sit down and hang out with them, get a coffee, go to lunch. I think that's something that's interesting that I'm sure a lot of other companies don't do.
Yeah, and I think some companies, they say open, accessible leadership, but you have to mean it. So out of our 360 leaders, right? So that's huge. Only 20 are in offices. And so that's by design too, open and accessible leadership. And then secret to success here, ask a leader to have lunch with you. Ask them if you can share ideas. Matt Ishbia is walking the floors to the point that every Thursday he has nothing on his calendar, and he's fierce about that. You do not book a meeting with Matt on a Thursday because you're taking away time with the people. So as he's walking and talking, he spends near every single day in the cafeteria having lunch. I do think that it's very special about us because I believe that titles are only it's a piece of paper that's on a business card. If you're not among your people, you're not approachable, that's not our style. Mm-hmm. and you got to stick your guns to that because that's harder and harder as you grow. But that definitely open, accessible leadership is very different the way that we do it.
By the way, I got that same message when I first started here.
Did you?
Yeah, invite leaders to lunch, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really
Yeah.
sure if I should be inviting this person, and it was the same thing.
Right.
But
Everybody
think
was
about
super
it,
cool and
yeah.
really receptive to
when
it.
you get invited to lunch, it feels good. Anytime anybody wants to spend time with me, that's why I'm here, is to like give my time. And then I learn so much. I learn new ideas. I learn about them personally. And you wish you could do it with 3,600 people as you grow. But it's definitely special of that. I mean, it's not just yes mentality. It's just the right thing to do. Spend time with each other.
Absolutely. This company, you've mentioned it, we are growing like crazy. Exponential growth, both in our loan volume and also the people that we're adding to keep up with the business. What kind of a challenge has it been trying to keep that small company family feel that we have here, even as we experience that massive growth?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just having the genuine care for what we do as a company and what we do for our people. There are touch points, even when it comes to the building. I keep saying everything here is very intentional, but we have a central staircase we added when we took over this building because it's the heart of the building. And that's where I want the thoroughfare of people to go through, to have those interactions and those exchanges. It does make us feel smaller magically. When we do the huddles, we'll sometimes pull two teams together, do a mega huddle because it makes us feel smaller. So it's all of those touch points, and even just from the dance parties. Every Thursday at 3 o'clock, we dance because we need that for our community, and it's going to be worth it every time to pull people together. So I think any chance, even we do a company rally in the parking lot, all of us 3,600 this summer are going to be out there sharing the same message and hearing from our CEO. And to look around, you do feel small even at those huge numbers because we're a family, a very big family, but we're a family.
And I watch Matt and Laura interact with a lot of our team members here, and you guys you always ask people, what can we do better? Like you're really concerned. It's always kind of, don't tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like.
Yeah. We're obsessed with opportunity. And it is true of like just digging deeper of we're number one, but that's never good enough for us. There's always opportunity. There's always something to make better. And if we're not concerned about our people and their thoughts of what is that, and again, when titles come in, don't just tell me you're happy because it's the CEO or some C-level title. Like, no, there's something. Like, there's something that we could do. And when you have that rapport with your people and you hear those opportunities, then wild stuff starts happening and we can do even more. So we're never complacent of just thinking, hey, we've got it good. Number one, we're growing. We get thousands of resumes a week. Like that's not okay for us. And as a company that's constantly innovating, another one of my favorite parts of the job, those ideas, they come from our people. They come from our clients.
We talked to Matt about this on an earlier show about the people we have here and the little deeds that people do for each other. And sometimes little deeds become big deeds because you may not know how much that means to somebody. Is there a particular story that stands out to you about something like that? Something that happened that made you say to yourself, this is a really great place to work?
Oh my gosh. Can we have an hour to talk about these things? I think I'm grateful in my position to have access to do amazing things for people. And that's kind of where I touch on, I think the piece I loved most about when I worked in L in the background, like my background, is to be able to do magical things for people. And I love when the community doesn't even know about it because you can touch people on an individual basis, and we don't give in order to receive praise or anything. So you don't hear about a lot of the magical things we do. But I remember when there's a beloved team member that had been here many years suffering from cancer, and she was at home after surgery, couldn't sleep because she couldn't lay down, but she had no means to sleep sitting up. Wow. And within an hour, I had a recliner at her house. And from having our team here, all of United Services, which is our building facilities team, 100% from security to everybody work here in-house. We're not relying on external anything. And when you can lean on those team members and say, one of our own is hurting, this is what I want to do, this is exactly where you need to go, can we do it? And it's not just doing it, it's doing it like immediately because one of our own is down. And there's so many examples just like that of things that we do for people that it's just obviously the right time every time to do. And that team member's never going to forget about that moment. It's very transformational. It's
an amazing story.
I love the way we go about things there, because that there is not about leadership. That's that there. Someone going through cancer can't sleep. That's about caring about people. And when I look around this company, we have a lot of people that feels that same way.
Yeah. And once you start empowering people that you can do those things, because I think, maybe in the past or other companies, people have had those careers where you couldn't do those amazing things and be just amazing human beings. And so now it's nice to hear the stories of leaders that do those things, and we share those stories of a leader had told me that she had a team member who doesn't know how to drive. It's like not just not knowing how to drive, they just never had the opportunity to learn. And so she started taking her lunches in her car to teach a team member how to drive.
Oh my
gosh. I mean, just those amazing things. And we had I was working with a team member who was going through a surgical procedure as a single dad. He's like, but I have my kids this weekend and I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll take your kids. But those are those moments that, like, again, when everything's so genuine and it's driven by your heart first, I'm like his sister now. That moment that we shared, you never go back on those moments. And so the more and more we can show our leaders and our team members that you do all these beautiful, amazing things for each other, that we're the company that you can do those things here.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
I love it.
Unbelievable. There have been some other people here who have come in from different circumstances and situations in their lives, and they have grown and developed and just taken off in their roles here. Mm-hmm. What's that like for you as the Chief People Officer to see people come in here and not just transform their careers and their professions, but in some cases their lives?
It is phenomenal what people can do here if they want it, and being able to see that come to life. It's just, again, one of the secrets of success here. If you're hungry, then you can transform, because we do hire to retire. You come in here not as just that stamp on your resume passport, like we're just not a little piece of your path. We want you to come here and be all in. And sometimes when people leave, and this happened dozens of times, they ask to come back. Because you leave and it's almost a good thing. It's not, grass is not always greener, but then you come back and those people are in beast mode of like, I didn't get it, right? And then they transform. So there's so many people here that end up going, you could start in sales and then why not work in closing? And then guess what? I always wanted to be in IT, and you truly can do that here. When we have career coaches, if I hire you in, I don't want to lose you, right? If you started in underwriting, you gain all that knowledge, why am I going to lose that knowledge? You could be great in our training team. So you can always transform and pivot into different opportunities here. And I think with last year, about 400 people alone internally transferred into new positions. We may have lost them if we didn't have those type of progression paths for people.
Wow, that's exciting. And we mentioned Matt a little earlier, because I got to ask you something about Matt, because we went to lunch. We went off campus to go to lunch. So we come back, and I just knew for sure that he was going to park on the sidewalk or something, right in front of the door.
Oh, yeah.
And we parked so far away, and we walked, and he's such a humble guy, and then he walk around here, and it's all about people. He goes over and beyond. You work with Matt closely. What is it? What is it about this guy?
I think as a CEO, he just created a new category of the exceptional CEO, that he's among us. There's never anything to lead us about anything that we do or him in particular. So from something as simple as parking spot, that could probably save him 10 minutes a day instead of driving around looking for a park. We're a very big company. We have a lot of parking spaces. But he's got to set that first for us to follow. And I think it's such a great example that I recently met some of the senior level team of the building that took over, the people that took over our last headquarters, our last building. And one of the first things they said was, how did you guys not have executive parking spots? Because we had to add those, the amount of time you waste driving around. Like, or are you more humble because of that? Or sometimes I'll park towards the back of the parking lot, it's raining my umbrella, I'm walking with 2 team members, and then I get to know them, or I'm walking out at the end of the day and I've got great conversations, but why? Why is foot travel for him should be any less than foot travel for the rest of us?
Right.
But I think those small things symbolize such a greater thing, that like we're all in this together, and none of us are different. And that's back to title. I keep saying titles don't matter. I get it. It's privileged to have these kind of titles in these roles, but I think it's very special that we're not like other places.
I love it, because if it was me, I gotta say,
you'd be parked up front on the sidewalk.
So I love how we do things here. Matt is such a great guy, Laura. The leadership here is fantastic.
Lead by example. And in our last building, we had, as we grew, we needed to have shuttles, and Matt was riding the shuttle all the time, and people taking selfies, but it was more so catching those conversations, like how valuable that time was for him.
You mentioned, Laura, some of the teams that you work with, from team member services, which includes HR, to training and client service, marketing, the leadership coaches with Mateen. I mean, there's a lot that goes into your day. For you, when you go home at the end of the day and you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the night when you go to sleep, what constitutes a great day for you?
Helping people all day, every day. And though we have a blast, jobs aren't easy. There's the many coaching points throughout the day, challenges throughout the day, those opportunities to do the impossible throughout the day, team members that are hurting personally. I think every day here is a great day, so much so that I truly hate to leave when it's time to leave, but we preach the from 40, and that is a solid 8 hours of all the hustle you can give and then go home to what you work for, and I try to stay true to that. So if it's 6 o'clock and I'm on my way out, I can't wait to come back the next day because there's always so much more great work to do. So I think every day is my best day because I maximize it and I give it my all. And I know every single day I come here and make a difference in some capacity.
And you talk about every day as your best day, and I think you do maximize. You do a great job here, but I also know about your 2 sons as well. Right? You got Will and Leo, and how do you juggle the work life and then being an awesome mom I almost want to say on the side. I mean,
That's a job in itself.
Yeah, it's a job in itself. How do you do it?
Well, I'm thinking about our large community here. There's a lot of us moms that lean on each other, right? Because I think it's amazing to be a hardworking mom, and when we don't do the workplace flexibility, I'm not home one day a week working from home. I'm here every single day for 8 hours a day hustling, and I want them to grow up and admire that about women and hardworking women and say, Mom did that, right? Nice. And to be able to say that we took quality vacations and we did all these things, and I had the work-life balance to do that for them, and to feel proud of what I contributed here, and to be educated on what I do here. We just had a Kids Day event, the National Bring Your Child to Work Day. We had over 400 children come to this headquarters for those people to see the hustle. What a special opportunity to see all the gifts that we give here to the company, and have my 7-year-old finally that day. He knew what we do as mortgages. He thought, Mom just works at a place that's a blast. There's basketball, and I come there and I go trick-or-treating, and there's a fair, there's all these great things. But now he understands what Mommy does. And so as they grow, I hustle here, I hustle there. But I think that this, when you do hustle here and give it all you have in that firm 40, that I can go home to what I work for, and I can put away the technology, and I don't have to bring up. My brain never stops, right? But I know the proper time to be all in as a mother, and then when to, at nighttime, what keeps me up dreaming about what's next year. So I think it's a fabulous balance.
You mentioned your boys, Laura. I'm curious, what would you say you have learned from being a mom? That experience being a mom has taught you.
A level of love that I never knew I had. When you're pregnant, all people say to you is, wow, time's going to fly by when that kid comes. It just flies by so quick, and then your kids are 20. No, it gets better every single day, and I think I have a different gratitude every day, because as they grow, there's no looking back. Yes, adorable babies, my little blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys, but as they progress, they'll come home every day learning something new, and to see that, in how open they are and how accepting they are, and that's how we should all be. It's so simple, but as a parent, that you learn those things of through the eyes of them.
Well, I've got 2 girls, so I just got to ask you, what is it like with boys? Because my girls are messy and crazy. I can't imagine what it's like with boys.
As a former athlete, I love that they don't stop. I think maybe boys are a little different from girls, where there's no wind down. They wind up until it's pass out time at bedtime. But so it even matches our hustle here. They just go. There's no relaxing. So I think the exhaustion, once it hits 9:30, I'm an early bird. I am out because I've given everything. They've given everything. It's pass out time. So boys, I think, are a little different with that.
And let me ask you about this, because you play soccer, and I think Leo plays soccer.
Yeah.
So okay. You're at a soccer game. Are you yelling, or are you sitting back being calm? Do you talk to him in the car? How do you do that?
I think, truly pre-UWM, I think my style would have been a little different, because I've coached my boys. I'm more of the philosophical of the why behind things, of why to hustle, why to go for the ball, why to have no fear. I don't yell. So even back to what you're saying earlier of like, I just said like it's just this calm because now I think I was a soccer player who was yelled at. My dad there's some crazy lungs there. He was the loudest on the sidelines, and so I watch some of those parents now of yelling at their kids. I'm like, they're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I remember that point in playing travel of like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I don't want that for them. So I want it to be healthy. I want win or lose. You did a great job. You missed the shot. It doesn't matter. You're going to get it next time. So that's how we coach here. It's the same thing when it comes to the parenting skills that you can acquire from business.
I got to make sure I call you before I go to my son's
You get a little too worked up.
Yeah, because I get a little too worked up during those games.
Well, you want them to succeed, right?
Yeah.
It's a little soft. There's some parents that yell. They'll yell on behalf of me, but different style.
Well, beyond attending your kids' soccer games, I want to ask you about any habits you may have, because a lot of leaders and successful people in business have certain habits they follow religiously. What are those for you?
I think a lot of it's all on how you start your day. So I've realized I have to be at my best self in order to deliver as both, here at work and then as a parent. I think a lot of it's accountability. I struggle with that. I'm not a morning person, but 5:45 in the morning, one of my best friends works at the Tonight Show in New York. She and I jump on our Peloton bike. It's a spinning bike every morning at 5:45, like clockwork. We never let each other down. And there's the times that she'll say, not feeling up to this morning. My daughter didn't sleep. That's okay because we're going to do this. And then afterwards, you're going to say thank you because I'm so glad I did. And then it's just the cadence. I have a very short commute. I'm lucky for that, about 5-minute drive into work. But then I have let's plan out the day. I have my checklist, my to-dos. We have a great project management system. I get in there. Disorder doesn't work for me. So I try to start my day as orderly as possible. And sometimes that requires, the prep work the night before. But those simple things that kind of get the engine humming and roaring for the rest of your day.
It's funny you mentioned getting up early to work out because it's something I like to do as well. And I tell people all the time, the toughest part is getting out of bed, right? Because it would be so easy to hit snooze and sleep for another hour. But once you get out of bed and you actually put that work in, it's such a great feeling for the rest of the day. And I feel like on those days when I get up earlier and go put that work in, I feel like I function better throughout the course of the day. Do you feel like there's something to that?
Yeah, there completely is, because there's the time I did have the excuses and I did miss it. And what that did for the pace of my whole day, I didn't feel complete with it. It's almost like, if you're on a diet and you have that cheeseburger today of like, it was worth it in the moment. And so you just have to remember that after effect feel. I don't want that for me. So it all requires effort, right? It's all what am I willing to do to be better?
Wow, I was hoping when you asked her that question that she was going to say, it's a certain drink that I have. Because I was going to go get it. If I can be like Laura Lawson, I'm going to get that drink ASAP.
Well, and I get asked often because I don't drink coffee. I never have.
You don't?
I stopped drinking pop or soda, whatever you'd like to call it, last year. So yeah, there's no liquid fuel.
So her and Matt
Willpower.
both, neither of them drink coffee. It's just straight adrenaline for both of you guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Clients of ours come to this building. We talked a lot about the internal people here, the team members, as we like to call them. But clients are always visiting this building, and a lot of them have mentioned that they would love to go back to their businesses and implement pieces of our culture into theirs. When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
I love it. And I get that our model is special because our sales team's in-house. They don't go into our client offices on a regular basis. They don't bring donuts, bagels. They can't shake hands. But we try to humanize even from the touch points of we've got video cameras on top of the sales monitors. We have photo for everybody in their email signature. But when people can come here, how amazingly special that is, because we joke, they joke, it's almost like a tripwire. You walk through and everybody's like, hello, welcome. They're here. And they're like, do you prep them? No, we don't. We hire the nicest, best people. It's true. And then come that way with like nearly 4,000 of them. But for clients that get to come here, and we have the programs like Success Track where you can bring in your team members and we'll train them for you. And we just do that because it's the right thing to do. But every time those clients come here, whether processors, loan officers, broker owners, or if it's our broker visits that happen multiple times throughout the year, it does change things because you get the genuine nature of everything we do. And then the things that I love to inject in this place, you get the weird, different all the different things that we have a different take on, and for people to take that and like, why can't I do that back in my office? We have a room here called the VIP room, and we can award that on a monthly basis where our team members can go in and indulge in all these freebies. It's almost like if you went to a baseball stadium and you're in the suite, or you're at the Delta Sky Club at the airport. They can go in there and help themselves to anything because they've earned that for a month, and that's just theirs. And we had a client who saw that model, and I suggested to him, I'm like, I get that we're this huge headquarters, but it doesn't matter the size of your office and the size of your team. I'm sure you have a messy closet. I'm sure you have that broom closet. You have something that get a lock for that door and hand out the lock on a monthly basis. And 3 weeks after he left here, he sent a picture to his account executive of his closet saying, I want Laura to see this because I'm transforming this into my own little mini VIP room, like snack.
Nice.
So if you earn access to that he's going to be putting all these cool magical things in there that people can go in and take. Because so the things that we do, it doesn't have to be on this scale, but it can be interpreted in so many great ways because it all, again, caring for your people, motivating your people, appreciating your people. So I love, and I think it's the biggest compliment when people say that we're Google-esque, because it just means we're innovators, right? It doesn't mean, again, like the bright colors and the slides in the lobby. It just means that we're different, and that I think everybody, every single person that walks through these doors gets energized by that.
We do have the colors, the cool colors.
We are very colorful.
It is very aesthetically pleasing. For you personally, you've had some unbelievable experiences in your life. Is there a person or a few people who you would list as the most impactful in shaping you into the person that you are today?
Yeah, Matt is a big piece of that because I came back to Michigan not knowing what I would do, again, out of loss, losing my mom and that profound loss, thinking I had my best job, right? Emmy-winning talk show. I mean, Ellen DeGeneres, like it, and I got a lot of that, and I still do today, of like, how would you ever leave that? Finding somebody like Matt who dreams bigger, and then I do as well, and being able to merge our skills together to develop what this has become. I think he's a big piece of that because this is, and what was amazing a couple years ago, he came with me back to Ellen, and he could see why this today is my best job because at Ellen, all those ideas for an audience of millions I'll never meet and be able to like literally touch and see. Here, there's thousands, and then there's their families that I do have direct impact on, and that means so much more to me. So definitely Matt.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not saying that because he's my boss. Brownie points. Are you listening to that?
I know, right?
But that's not it. It's just having somebody believe in you and you believe in their vision and then see it come to life. Where we are today, I'm sure he expected it, right? It was part of his plan. People would call crazy. And I'm just on the crazy ride, and we always just feel like we're just getting started. We always are. And I'm here for the next 20 and beyond. Because we can just do that here. We can do anything here, and I can't imagine what's ahead, and I can't wait to see it.
Making the impossible possible,
Completely.
as you said earlier. Laura, great stuff. We appreciate you joining us on the podcast. It was really interesting getting to learn more about your story and how you have evolved this company since being here, and we look forward to all the things that are still to come here.
It's a blast. Thank you.
Our thanks to Laura Lawson for sharing her story and her tremendous insights on workplace culture and finding the right people for your team. To make sure you never miss an episode of Power Forward, subscribe wherever you find your podcasts, and look for new episodes every other week featuring inspirational stories of success. I'm Justin White. We'll see you next time on Power Forward.